And the topic is India in the modern world, the role of India, the role of states. So may I take you to Silicon Valley? So there's a junior techie talking to a seasoned techie. And the seasoned techie asks the junior guy, what does an IC stand for? And very bravely, the junior tech guy says, integrated circuit. And the senior person looks at him and says, no, that's wrong. And IC in the tech world today stands for India and China. So India, of course, is gaining a prominent position in world affairs compared to what we were 20 years ago. So if you look at the world today, the world is growing at sub 3%, which is slow growth for the world. 2026 forecast is about the same. At the same time, we are in what is often called a VUCA world, and you may have heard this phrase before. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Normally in VUCA times, if you use oil as a proxy, oil prices go up because of fear of shortage of supply and so on and so forth. But because the world economy is slow, oil is actually at a low price today. So we have a VUCA world and slow growth, which is a fairly dangerous and bad combination for the world. In this environment, India stands out. So if you look at the IMF forecast for economic growth of India for 2026, it is 7.3%. Somebody else has said it will be 8%. So the range of growth that is being forecasted is any bit between 7 and 8.5% for India. In a world which is growing at 3%, that's a refreshing change for a large economy like India. There are two forces, let me submit to you, that will continue this upward trajectory of India, even though there may be short-term cycles that we may see. The first force I call the operating leverage of the Indian consumer. So think of an average Indian making 100 rupees of income, 100 units of income. Let's assume 80 units of that income goes away in what we would call roti, kapda or makan. So 20 units is disposable income with which he buys a washing machine or a scooter or a refrigerator or whatever. He gets a 10% increment, let's say, or 9% increment at the end of the year, of which 4% is inflation. So let's assume he gets a real wage growth of 5%. This income moves from 100 to 105 in real terms, but his disposable income just moved from 20 to 25, which means there's a 25% growth in disposable income. So you have millions of Indians who are crossing the threshold where the nominal wage growth may be 9%, the real wage growth may be 5%, but the disposable wage growth may be 20%, which is why industries that are boring in the Western world are exciting industries in India. So automotive is growing rapidly in India because of this reason. Insurance is growing at a rapid pace because of this reason. And industry after industry will continue to grow fast over the next 10, 15, 20 years because of this operating leverage of the Indian consumer. So that's bet number one, I think, on India. The second bet I think that will keep our economic engine alive is there was a statistic that India's small and medium enterprises require about 1.5 trillion in capital funding. This was an estimate by an investment banker of Vendors in Bombay a couple of years ago, of which they estimated half is not financeable in the classical sense because the people who need money don't have collateral. So let's ignore that for a second. So $750 billion was available to the market to finance, of which the formal financing was only $300 billion. So there was a gap of $450 billion. As new financial instruments, new NBFCs, new sources of finance come, this gap, which is 60% not financed yet, only 40% of the $750 billion which is financeable is financed by banks and NBFCs. as more of this gets financed by the formal sector rather than the informal sector, it'll boost growth. So I think these two trends, the operating leverage of the consumer and penetration of finance for small businesses, will truly make India stand out from the rest of the world.